Okay, there we go. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Back to Me podcast, where we talk about all things wellness and talk about the ideas, concepts, mind shifts, resources, everything that I can possibly lay my hands on to help you live your happiest, healthiest life. And today I am talking with Melissa Dealey. Hello, Melissa.
Hi, Heather. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. I paused because I was like, did I say that right? But I think I said
You
it
did.
right.
You did. Really dealy. They rhyme. That's
Right.
exactly how you say it.
And we were having a conversation before we came on because you're an integrative mind body health practitioner, which was a big, long title, and the founder of Girls Matters. But I think we've fit it all in. So
We have.
let's start way back before you were the IMBHP, integrative mind body health practitioner. What led you into pursuing this as something you wanted to bring into the world?
Well, I was guided here, very much so. I had been in the corporate world and I had really enjoyed my corporate career, and I'd been there for 24 years. And one day, big fish bought little fish, and I found myself being let go with literally an hour to clear out my desk and no word of thanks for those 24
What?
years of service. So, in that moment, I knew three things. I was never going to work for someone else again. That whatever I did next, I wanted to be more of service to humanity and the planet. And I had no idea what it was going to be. And I was open to being guided. And so later that year, I was actually introduced to a company that specialized in brain health supplementation. And I thought, well, that's interesting because I use my brain 24/7. And I didn't know that there was more that I could do to support the health of my brain nutritionally. And I also knew that there was near epidemic levels of Alzheimer's and dementia. And I knew I didn't want to go down that path. So if I could
Right.
do more to support my brain nutritionally, that just made really good sense. And I thought of my grandmother, who at the time was 99 years old, still living at home and caring for herself, fully cognitively functioning. And I wanted that path. So I knew I had good genes. However, something inside me said, is that enough? And it was a really good question. And I started comparing her life to my life. Well, she was born in little old Christchurch, New Zealand, in the bottom corner of the world in 1916, before all the toxins that were introduced predominantly since World War II that we have today, growing all their own food on their property without any pesticides, et cetera, and chemicals. And so she was very toxin free, in other words.
Right.
Meanwhile, I was raised in Tokyo, Japan. Wonderful life. However, it was the 1970s and manufacturing plants were spewing out toxins everywhere into the atmosphere, which meant it was falling down on me and the many other millions of people living in Tokyo. And so I decided, yeah, I'm way more toxic than she ever was. So if I want that path, I need to do more to get on that path. And so I started learning about toxins and how they're impacting our brain and our brain health, the health of our body. And that was kind of my starting point. And very soon after that, my oldest daughter, who was in grade 12 at the time, got a concussion in her first grade 12 soccer game of the season.
Oh, my Lord.
And she had just started using these brain health supplements to support her focus and attention in grade 12 and the afternoon at school, etc. And so because I wasn't working full time, I was going to the appointments with her because I knew that she didn't have the cognitive ability to come home and tell me in the hour-long appointment what they had told her to do. And I knew the healing didn't happen at the appointment. It happened based on what you did between appointments. So I went with her and I was learning more about the brain and supporting her healing journey. And 2 months later, I got a phone call from the high school as I was driving to Vancouver asking me to go pick up my daughter, who was in grade 8, because she had a suspected concussion from gym class.
What the heck is going on with these brains?
Exactly. And so my response was, really? This is how you show me my path? Stop taking out my children. Because now I'm going to 2 sets of concussion appointments, learning more about the brain. And we live in a small town, so organically I was starting to help other people because it's the small town of Whistler where we have downhill skiing and downhill biking. So a lot of concussion, just not 2 in one household. And so other people were asking me to support them with the concussions of their loved ones. And then before long, I was invited to work at a holistic clinic that was opening to support concussion recovery. And I absolutely wanted to do that. Everything I'd learned was from my own research, my kids, everything I'd learned from all of their appointments. And I reached out to those other practitioners and said, if I go do this, am I stepping on your toes? They're like, absolutely not. We need more support. We need a nutrition focus for this recovery. Do it. Except I couldn't because I couldn't get insurance, liability insurance.
Right.
I didn't have a certification. So that sent me back to school. And I started in health coaching school, which also I was guided into because I thought I was going to become a life coach. And I called a friend who is a life coach and said, where did you do your studies? Because I need a certification and I'd like to become a life coach. And he goes, you don't need to be a life coach. You need to be a health coach. And I'm like, what? I'd never even heard that term. And it landed. And life coach I'd had in the back of my mind, and it hadn't ever really landed for me, right? Health coach did. And so I started Googling health coaching schools, and within 10 days I started. And the moment I got there, I knew that I'd found my purpose, my passion, and I couldn't get enough. Like, I just wanted to learn more and more and more. I wanted to do this 26 hours a day. I was that enamored by what I was learning about my own body and going, I'm in my 40s. Why don't I know this about my own body?
Right.
And then stopping to think about it and go, oh, well, I've had a career and I'm a mom and a wife and a sister and a daughter, and I've had all these other things going on. So when did I have time, right? And then I realized, so if I don't know this, how many other women out there don't know this about their bodies? And what if I could take all of these little nuggets of information that I'm learning that are having me just naturally change the way I do things, because now I know better, I do better. If I shared this with everybody else, that would be of service to humanity, back to one of those original goals, right?
Right.
So that's what I started doing, was working with clients and loving my health coaching work. And then I found Integrative Health Practitioner Organization, which gave me the ability to run functional medicine lab tests to look at the root cause of the toxicities, the imbalances in the body, and giving people answers as to why they feel the way they do, rather than going to a doctor who runs the blood work and says, oh, everything looks normal, there's nothing wrong with you, or it's all in your head, right? Now we could see the toxic levels. We could see the imbalances. We could see the deficiencies in nutrients, etc., in order to rebalance the body, because when the body's in balance, it will heal itself. And we're just so depleted because of high stress has us burning through our minerals and vitamins, and we're not putting them back in high enough doses. And the body can't do everything. But when we support the body to come back into balance, then it can do it. So I was loving that work. And at that time, I also decided to start a podcast, because a podcast seemed like a really great way to get this information out to others. And so I started my Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast. It was also very helpful that I met a podcasting coach in a networking group who helped me launch, because without her, I would have never got my podcast off the ground. And now it's been over 3 years. It's in the top 2% of podcasts around the world.
Amazing.
Globally. And as I shared with you at the very beginning, I've been nominated for Women in Podcasting Awards in the inspiration and motivation category. And that's what I'm trying to do, is inspire people to prioritize their health. Because if you don't have your health, what do you have? You can't build your career, your business, raise your family from your sickbed. And I'm also hoping to motivate and inspire people who are on a health journey right now, that despite what they might have been told about their percentages of outcomes and success rates and all of those things, that your body can heal. And I bring on guests who have healed themselves from a myriad of different diseases and difficulties, et cetera, because all you need to do is find that one person's done it. And if you know one person's done it, then you know you can do it too.
Right. And
So
it's
that's the big
so
difference.
good. Like, I love that when the big fish came and chomped you up, that you just said, screw you, I'm going to go do something else. And when you were describing when you were in health coaching school, I was the same way when I went to massage school. I would be
Mm-hmm.
like, this is fascinating. And I was in my 40s too. I'm like, how come nobody knows this is how the body works? And I'd be studying, and my husband would say, shouldn't you go to bed? I'm like, can I study just one more hour? Like, I never did that in university. Are you kidding me?
Same.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, synchronicities. So yesterday I was on Gaia TV watching a show, and it's an interview with I had to look it up, the rogue pharmacist. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I
Ben
haven't.
Ben Fuchs, Fuchs. And they
Okay.
call him the rogue pharmacist because
I like that.
he doesn't believe, well, he does believe in prescription medicines for certain things. He said
Absolutely.
when he got his knee replaced, he really liked morphine. Like, he
Right.
liked that we had morphine. But he was saying basically the same thing you're saying. With the proper nutrition and the proper things that your body needs, your body heals itself.
Yes.
But pharmacists, prior to when we developed aspirin and pharmaceuticals, would assess you and mix you up something to to give your cells the proper nutrition. He's talking the cellular level, which I thought was fascinating. And he said, you don't necessarily need all these. He made a comment that the medical system is now, you're trying to it's all about benchmarks. Your cholesterol has to be this, your blood pressure has to be this. He said, but there's people with low cholesterol who can have problems. There's people with high cholesterol who have no problems. Instead, we should be helping the body, as you say, operate at its best. And
Yeah.
a lot of we blame manufacturing and everything. I understand where it all came from because we were trying to feed a lot of people as best we could. But when we recognize that the nutrients aren't there and the toxins are building up in us, a lot of people don't know where to go or what to do. I like that what did you call yourself? The friendly toxin slayer. It's like,
Yes.
I can see you with like your cape and your sword, hiya, 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 chopping through.
Well, because I was raised in Japan, I actually have samurai swords. And so I do have a photo of me in a red sweater with my swords up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And he's completely right. And I'm going to check him out because I just love the name of that, the rogue pharmacist.
Right.
That, there are 3 causes of chronic illness, which to me, chronic illness is the endemic that we have in the world today, right? And our doctors aren't trained in dealing with chronic illness. And so their solution is take this drug and you have to take it for the rest of your life. And then what happens is that drug is a Band-Aid. It's not getting to the root cause. It's just covering up the immediate symptom. And then the body goes, no, that's not what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to go deeper and deal with the root cause, and you haven't. So I'm going to give you another symptom so that to get you to pay attention, because symptoms are the body's way of communicating with you to get you to pay attention. And so then you go back to the doctor and they give you another drug to mask that symptom, and you're not actually healing, right? And so there's 3 causes of chronic illness, and they are literally your toxic load, your low nutrient uptake, and stress. And stress has you burning through those nutrients if you're getting them. And to your point, with our agricultural industry trying to feed the world, it became take from the soil, and we weren't letting the soil sit, so it wasn't able to rejuvenate the nutrients. If the nutrients aren't in the soil, they don't grow into the food.
Right.
So today, we would need to eat 9 oranges in one sitting to get the same nutrient content that my grandmother would have eaten in an orange pre-World War II. 9.
Okay.
Nobody does that. There's too much fiber in it. You would get too full, right?
I know. I'm like, I can eat 9 clementines, but not 9 oranges.
Exactly. So we are nutrient deficient anyway. 80% of North America is deficient in magnesium, omega-3s, and vitamin D. 100% of Canadians are deficient in vitamin D if they're not supplementing, because we do not have enough hours of the day of our exposed skin to sunlight for enough days of the year. And that applies.
And we're all
also to the
slathered on
northern part of the
sunscreen.
US. And that too, right? So we are nutrient deficient. So that's a piece of it. So it is looking at our nutrition and supporting that, supporting our stress levels, and looking at the toxic load. And when we address all of those, we can absolutely reduce our risk of chronic illness and or recover from chronic illness. The more pharmaceutical medications we're already on, the harder that is, because I'm an integrative health practitioner. I'm not a doctor. I'm not trained in all of those pharmaceuticals. I'm simply trained in looking for the deficiencies, the toxicities, and the imbalances. So I can't take you off all of those medications.
Right.
I can guide you in helping your body heal, but you have to be able to work with a doctor or pharmacist who will help you adjust your doses as your body starts healing. So it's definitely teamwork at that point. So it's far better to just start doing these things in advance to prevent the illness. Because as I said earlier, you can't build your business, run your life, and have joy and pleasure in your children if you are under the weather yourself.
Right. That's one of the things I always talk about. It's like your physical health impacts everything else in your life. So if it's pulling everything else down, let's deal with your physical health.
Yes.
And I think, like, have you found there's more toxic load as you get older, or is it an area of the world, or what do you think, what is in a toxin? What's a toxin and how does it load up?
So
Do I have a truckload?
It's all of the above. All of the
Okay.
above. So I actually have a Discover Your Toxic Load quiz that I have people take so they can start to see how the symptoms that they've been experiencing can be triggered by their toxic load, as opposed to aging, allergies, genetics, etc. Society's taught us to blame all of those things, push through, and ignore it. And none of those things are related. It's the toxic load. So yeah, cars driving down the street, that's exhaust fumes. It's getting on your skin. You go into the local pharmacy and you buy, sunscreens, you buy anti-aging creams, you buy whatever creams, body lotions you're putting on your skin. Well, most of the ones that you buy at your regular pharmacy are loaded with toxins, and you're putting that on your skin and it gets into your bloodstream in 26 seconds. All the pesticides that are used in all over the world, right? And I know there's organic, which is obviously the better choice. However, it's still not perfect because guess what? We all live in one atmosphere and we have this thing called wind. And so it still blows it everywhere. However, they're less exposed than the non-organic, right? So we're all getting toxins into us. It's through our waterways. Our waters are now, unfortunately, loaded with antibiotics, birth control, because people are taking so many of them and it's getting, going through our bathrooms and out and cleaned, etc. However, it still gets into our natural waterways as well. We've got aluminum and heavy metals coming through our tap water, fluoride, etc., coming into our homes because of what municipalities and cities put into our water to sterilize it and clean it, except it's still at levels that are toxic to our body. So there's a lot that we can do in order to mitigate these toxins. And I run detox programs for people just to help get the toxins out of the body. So the longer we've lived and not ever done a detox, the more toxic we are just by living. And this is nobody's fault. And what you didn't know, don't beat yourself up for. Now that you know, you can look into it and go, what can I do about this, right? How can I change things? How can I move forward? So I do a detox every quarter because I know that the toxins are always coming in, right? So I did a 21-day detox the very first time I did it. And my detox programs, I make them as easy as possible for people to do. You do get to eat. It's not like water fasting the entire time. There is some fasting, although we're still giving you the nutrients your body needs. So your body has everything it needs. And in some cases, more than when you eat because your digestive system isn't functioning properly. And this is easier for your body to break down. Delicious recipes and guiding people through, setting them up for success. And then every quarter I do a 7-day detox after that. Just that way, I just know that I'm getting the toxins out that have come back in. So I'm keeping my liver functioning at an optimal level, because when our toxin load gets too high, the liver gets bogged down and it can't do everything.
Right.
And
The
then
liver has a lot of jobs.
it has a lot of jobs, a lot of jobs. We can start to have hormonal imbalance if our liver is bogged down, because it can't detox the excess estrogen. And we're getting excess estrogen in because it's in plastics, it's in skincare products. There's estrogen in healthy foods, right? And so if the body can't balance it itself, we end up with too much estrogen. And then people start to have symptoms of that in early menopause, et cetera, et cetera. The liver, when we support it and it can do its job, it can continue to get the toxins out. When it can't do its job, it's very smart and it tries to protect our bloodstream from those toxins, and it will store the toxins that it can't release from the body in our fat closets. Our fat closets are our brain, our breasts for women, and anywhere we carry excess weight. I don't know about you, but I don't want toxins
I don't want it in
running
my
around
brain.
brain, and I don't want
No.
them in my breasts. I mean, look at all the neurological disorders, look at all the breast cancers. There's a reason for this, right? And we can do something about it and lower our risk substantially. So that's what my work is all about, is helping educate people so that they understand that they can make different choices. And it doesn't have to be hard. We just start with baby steps. Like, let's just change one thing. And you start noticing an improvement. Let's change a second thing. And then before long, you want to. I've completely changed the way I eat in the last 10 years since I started learning all of this. And I don't miss anything from what I used to eat. And it's not that I eat perfectly all the time, but I live by an 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time I'm eating really healthy foods that are serving my body, and 20% of the time I get to eat whatever I want that probably isn't a very good nutritional value. However, my body can handle it because 80% of the time it's got what it's needed.
Right. I'm thinking about in probably 20 years ago, I was running marathons at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always been, I thought I was healthy. If I look back now, I wasn't healthy. But, I thought I was doing a pretty good job. And in my 30s, I developed asthma. I go to the regular medical system. They say, oh, you have asthma. Take this puffer. You're allergic to this. You're allergic to cats. I'm like, but I've owned cats my whole life. Why am I allergic to cats now? I've never been allergic before. I go to a naturopath and he says, well, yes, you're allergic to cats and you can't digest dairy because of the proteins. I'm like, but what are you talking about? He actually traced it. His opinion was it started when I had my first antibiotics when I was
Mm-hmm.
young, and
Mm-hmm.
he could trace it forward. And he said, it's just your body can't handle it anymore, which makes complete sense what you're saying. You hit a load where your body goes, nah, I'm done.
Yep.
Done now.
Exactly. It's too much. I can't handle it. Exactly. So I have people say that all the time, because in adulthood, they start developing food intolerances, and it's because their gut is in overload and it's just like, I'm done. And they'll be like, but I ate this my whole life. And now your
Right.
toxic load is too high. So let's lower your toxic load. Let's empty that trash can, right? And then your body can probably handle it again. And then when your body can't handle it at some point down the road, then you'll be like, my toxic load's too high. I got to do a detox again.
That must be IBS must be one of those as well, right? That IBS seems to be one of those. We can't figure out why you're not digesting right. Stop eating these things.
So IBS really is a symptom. It is not a diagnosis. So it's a symptom of what else is going on in the gut. And we have to understand what else is going on in the gut. And when we heal that, the IBS goes away. So absolutely.
So crazy at these things. And I totally understand. Like there's so many things that doctors, we expect them to know everything, but they can't.
They
They,
don't. And I don't know everything by any stretch of the imagination either. I'm connected to an incredible community. So when clients ask me questions I don't know the answers to, I'm like, I don't know. And let me see if I can find out. I am
right.
only too happy to say I don't know. However, I think unfortunately in medical schools, they're not taught that it's okay to say I don't know. They feel like they have to have an answer for everything. And so they are put in difficult situations. And we put them in those difficult situations because society has taught us we don't have to worry about our health. We've got doctors. We just wait to get sick. And when we get sick, we go to the doctor and they're going to fix us. Well, that's putting a lot of responsibility on another person. We have to take responsibility for our health so that we don't get sick, or we minimize the number of times that we get sick, or that, it's my biggest goal is to not have to go to the doctor because I'm looking after myself proactively. And we do that with our cars. The engine light comes on and we get that serviced right away. The engine light is the symptom in the car, right? We do that in our homes. Something breaks, we get it fixed. We renovate, we vacuum, we clean, we take out the trash. We don't do this for our bodies. And here's my question for everybody. You can buy a new car. You can buy a new house if you don't look after them and you just let them go to trash. Can you buy a new body?
Not yet, you can't.
Exactly. So why do we not look after our body at the same level of investment that we look after our home and our car? We have to shift our mindset around this and stop believing that we don't need to worry about our health because the doctor's going to fix us.
Well, and also I think this just came into my head that maybe people think that, or they don't realize that toxins accumulate because you're like, well,
Absolutely.
I get up, I go to the bathroom, I've eliminated. But
Right.
you're saying so they're stored in the fat, and to get them out, we have to shrink our fat cells. How do we get it out?
We do detoxes, literally do detoxes with specific nutrients designed to draw it out of the body. So that is the other piece of where we're at in the world today with our nutrient depleted soil systems, is that the nutrients needed to have our body be able to excrete those toxins, they have to be turned into being water soluble, right? So that we can urinate them out, sweat them out, breathe them out, and poop them out. The nutrients needed to make them water soluble are no longer in our soil systems. Therefore, they're not in our food. So we don't have them in our body. So they're critical nutrients that we are missing. And so the detox program gives those nutrients to your body so that it can actually do what it's supposed to do and convert them to being water soluble and get them out. So yes, every day we, do have regular bowel movements and all of that. During the detox, there will be more. They will be darker. And because you'll see the difference when your body's getting the nutrients it needs to get those toxins out. And that's how you know it's working, right? And I
Crazy
know people,
pants.
Yeah, exactly. And here's another thing. People can go and watch a documentary called 20 Americans. It's on the EWG.org website, the Environmental Working Group. That is a study that they did many years ago of toxicity levels in the umbilical cords of newborn babies.
Okay. And it
I'm
wasn't good.
It wasn't good. And I'm very sad to say that mom's toxic load is flowing through the placenta, and babies today are being born more toxic than ever.
So they don't even get to come out fresh and clean.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. And while we don't have babies or children or anybody under 18 do detoxes, because those nutrients are from Ayurvedic medicine and functional medicine, they haven't been studied by the FDA enough to say that they're safe. So we just say, don't. We can give them better nutrition that allows their body to do what it's meant to do. And that's what's key for our babies and our young children, teenagers, etc., is getting better nutrition in order to help the body naturally draw those toxins out themselves without needing to do a detox. And because they haven't been on the planet as long as we have, they are less toxic than we are. However, it is sad that they're toxic even in the womb.
That's crazy. Like I know that whatever the mother consumes goes to the baby, but I guess I never thought about the fact that that means the bad stuff too, right? Yeah. Which is too bad. Oh my gosh. So we're going to slay toxins. Now you mentioned that you have your program is starting. Let's slay some toxins, people.
Yes. So a couple things that I want people to know that we can release these toxins from our bodies. So don't be listening to this thinking you're hooped. You're absolutely not. You just need to know that you can take action, release these toxins from your body, and reduce your risk of any kind of chronic illness and disease. And so, as a friendly toxin slayer, I don't just address the toxins in the physical body, I also address the toxins in the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. So the emotional body, all those stuffed down emotions, because society has told us don't cry, leave your troubles at home, all of those things that we've been taught to stuff our emotions. And over time, that impacts the health of your organs and your overall health and can cause dis-ease. And we can release those stuffed down emotions working with the power of our unconscious mind. The mental toxins. How do you talk to yourself? Do you cheer yourself on and say, I love you. You are amazing. You are doing great things in this world, and everything you put your mind to, you can achieve? Do you say that to yourself every single day and really mean it? Or are you hearing, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I'm powerless, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough? Cancel to all of that. Because unfortunately, that's a lot of the conversation going on in our head. And to me, that's mental toxins.
Right.
And we can release all of that and convert it into the I love yous, and you are good enough, and you are powerful, and you can do anything you set your mind to. You just have to set your mind to it, right? And then the spiritual toxicity, that's the alignment in your spirituality. Are you in a job that you love, that brings you joy and pleasure every single day, knowing that you are serving who you're meant to be serving? Or are you in a job that pays the bills and you hate it and you can't leave though because you think you have to stay in order to pay the bills? That's the misalignment. And there's other areas where there can be misalignment, relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So we look at all of these areas of your life, because when we look at all of these areas, that's how we get to total and complete health. And that's why I call myself the friendly toxin slayer, because I'm literally helping you slay those toxins in all 4 bodies.
I was going to say, so that's 4 bodies and 3 minds?
The 3 minds, yes. So the 3 minds are your higher self, your conscious mind, and your unconscious mind. And here's what's really interesting. The higher self is connected to the spiritual body. The conscious mind is connected to the mental body. The unconscious mind is connected to the emotional body. And then the physical body is down below all of that. Now, by the time a symptom shows up in the physical body, it's already moved through the other 3 above. So that's why it's important to go back and clear the toxins in the other 3 above. And here's the other key piece. The conscious mind can communicate to the unconscious mind, which is 90% of your mind, by the way. The conscious mind is only 10%. And the unconscious mind can communicate with the higher self. Our higher self has the blueprint of our perfect health, our success, all the resources for everything that we need to do in this life, except we can't access it consciously because the conscious mind and the higher self cannot communicate directly. We must go through the unconscious mind. And so that's why all of the tools that I work with are using the tools of the unconscious mind. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy, in order to help my clients, detox all 4 bodies and create the life that they want for the person they're becoming with greater ease and flow and grace. Because it's that fast when we work with the unconscious mind, because the unconscious mind is much faster than the conscious mind. And so I love this work because I can help people using timeline therapy release their trauma without them even having to talk about it. And a lot of people don't want to go to therapy because they don't want to talk about it, because they know when they talk about it, it triggers it all and it feels horrible and it's uncomfortable. And why would you want to?
Right. I know.
Or they go to therapy and then they leave feeling like they've been hit by a train wreck, and that's my training partner. That was her story. She felt worse every time she left. Now, I'm not saying therapy is bad. Therapy is great for creating awareness around whatever it is that's going on for you. Figure that out. Then we come over here and we get the learnings around your trauma, because everything is happening for us. And I know in the muck, it doesn't feel like that. And you might be like, how could this be happening for me? Ask that question. How is this happening for me? Because you will get an answer. And you will look back at every experience in your life with gratitude. I spoke to a woman yesterday who was abused by her father for 10 years from the age of 4 to 14, and then got into alcohol and drugs and numbing and all of that, right? Today, she stands proud, she's glowing, and somebody said to her, "Don't you hate your father?" She said, "I don't. I've released all of that. And I know that I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't gone through all of this. And I had to go through all of that in order to be able to help the people that I serve."
Right.
That is healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I help people do without even having to talk about it. And when she heard that yesterday, she's like, "I got to do your programs because I wish I could have done it your way. It wouldn't have taken me nearly as long, and I wouldn't have had to talk about it." Because you know why you don't have to talk about it? The unconscious mind already knows what happened. It stores every memory of every experience in your life without judgment. It already knows what happened. All you need to tell me when we go through these sessions is what the unconscious mind learned. Because when the unconscious mind gets the learnings from that experience, it can release all that stuff down emotion, all the trauma, because it's happening for you so you can learn something. And if you don't learn it in the moment and you squash it, you're going to have to come back and learn it later.
Nobody wants to have to do over some of those things that we do, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So these are really powerful tools. And so my program that is running in October, November, it's a 60-day program that are giving people 4 certifications in one. So anybody who works with others, no matter what type of coach, practitioner, even counselor you are, if you are looking to up-level your toolbox and have access to the tools of the unconscious mind to get results for your clients with greater ease, flow, and speed, this is something you're going to want to look into. So 4 board level certifications, or designations actually, because they're board level, in one. And it's the practitioner level of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy, and as an NLP results coach, which is a higher level than even the ICF accredited coaching training. And we talk about results because that's what we're getting for people, because we are rewiring neurology to change behavior.
Cool.
And we get results.
So this program is helping people who are helping people.
Yes.
And you still have your toxin slayers for the people who's like, "I don't want to help people. I just want to get my toxins out."
Yes.
And what else? Oh, what else have we got going on over here? I was like looking at my notes.
The podcast Women in Podcasting Awards.
The women.
Voting.
So I'm going to make sure that the link is in the show notes for everybody to go vote on the podcast. You should definitely go listen to it. I'm on it. You should listen to that episode and send it some love, because come on, you guys, let's be serious. And
your episode actually comes out after this episode. So I'll tell people the episode number so they can just keep their eye open for it to come out, because it is a fabulous episode. And
well, they're going to subscribe and listen. Come on. We all want to detoxify.
Episode 194 is your episode on the Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast.
Magic number is 5. Sorry, I was doing a little numerology on the side. The friendly toxin slayer, I'm looking down at my list. Wow. You have a lot of resources for people, even before they have to go out into the world. And, even before you say, "I don't know," because I can't imagine you have to say it very often. It sounds like you can affect a lot of transformation for people, like right off the get-go. And when people are first starting, what do you find is the first thing that you get? What would be the first thing that people could start to do just for themselves to start that journey of detoxing? And then we're going to talk about Girls Matter.
Sure. Well, I can give you the link so that they can take my Discover Your Toxic Load quiz. So I can give that to you to pop in the show notes so people can just see. And what that does is that brings awareness to symptoms that you have that you might have been ignoring, because we are trained to ignore our symptoms, right? And then go, I do have that. I have that. I do. And they might not be, bothering you a lot, and that's great. However, they build up, right? And so doing that quiz lets you know, okay, it's the toxins that are causing this. If I release the toxins, these symptoms go away before they become a problem, right? A real problem.
Right.
I always like to say, address your symptoms when they're whispering so that they don't have to come along and hit you over the head with a 2x4, or even worse, it's a wrecking ball if you spend too long ignoring it. So that's one thing. Secondly, honestly, the easiest thing to start with, and people are going to be like, oh, that's too easy. You know what? In the work that I do, I teach you to be easy. It doesn't have to be hard. So please allow this to be easy. Get yourself a water filter for your house to make sure you are drinking clean water, and drink more water. And if you don't like the flavor of just plain water, add the juice of half a lemon or half a lime. It's great for your electrolytes. The more we hydrate, the more we can flush through those toxins. Now, I'm not saying overhydrate either. Most people, though, are classically underhydrating. The right dose to hydrate is 50% of your body weight in water. So if you weigh 150 pounds, then half of that is 75 pounds. You want to be drinking 75 ounces a day. That's almost 10 cups. And most people are not doing that. If it's hot, you need to be drinking more. Or if you live, if you're doing a lot of exercise when you were running your marathons, you would want to be drinking more. When I have people detox, I have them drink 2/3 of their body weight in water so that we can really be flushing those toxins out. So just starting with hydrating at the proper amount is a really great starting point for people, because most people aren't even doing that yet.
That's a lot of water.
And because you say that, our bodies are like sponges. So if you're only drinking 2 or 3 cups of water a day, then suddenly going to 10 cups of water, you're going to find yourself in the bathroom all the time and go, I can't do this, and give up. No, you can do this, but you need to build yourself up, because your body is like a brand new sponge that you buy at the store, and it's dry and it's hard. And you come home and you have to hold it under the tap for a couple of minutes until it becomes absorbent enough that you can squeeze it. And your body's the same. So if you're only drinking, 3 cups today, drink 4 tomorrow, and drink 5 the next day, and 6 the next day. Do it slowly. Don't just go from 3 to 10. And I also want to say that alcohol doesn't count as hydration. Sorry. Coffee doesn't count as hydration. Sorry. Even energy drinks, because they're loaded with food coloring and sugar, just cut them out altogether. Your hydration is made up of regular water, like I mentioned earlier, the water where you add the juice of half a lemon or half a lime, coconut water, your protein shakes, that counts as hydration, herbal teas count as hydration, and that's it. I don't recommend people drink juices either unless they're really watered down, because the juice is taking all the sugar out of the fruit and all the, the juice without the fiber. So it's just a big insulin spike for your body, which you don't need. So I don't recommend juices either. Eat the fruit.
It's funny. In my pathology teacher in massage school, she was a doctor from the Czech Republic. And she was very straightforward in how she felt about the world. And she said, no one needs juice, because juice is only for people who are sick and cannot eat. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No one needs juice.
Yeah, on a regular basis. And yet we were taught, start your day with a glass of orange juice. That's healthy. Right. No, start your day with the orange. Sugar. Yeah. Start your day with the orange, because then you have the fiber and it's all balanced out. So yes.
So now we're going to jump onto and get ourselves detoxed so we can be better and do the things that we want to do in the world. And one of the things you're doing in the world is you have founded Girls Matter. And I wanted to make sure that we talked about that as well, because I think it's an amazing cause.
Well, thank you. And so, yes, in this process of being let go from the corporate world, I attended a conference where somebody said to me that we are all put on this planet. And actually, it was the speaker. It wasn't said specifically to me. We were all put on this planet to never stop learning, find our passion, be of service. And you don't have to know how, you just have to know your why. And that really resonated with me. And I already knew my why. I'm a Girl Guide leader. I have been for over 20 years. In the US, it's called Girl Scouts. And I took my Girl Guides back in 2013 on International Women's Day to watch a show called Girls Rising. And it was a documentary all about girls around the world who were desperate for the right to go to school and being denied that right simply because they were girls. No other reason than that. And I watched that with these 20 girls in the room with tears coming down my face because I knew that every single one of the girls in the room, 2 of them were my daughters and myself, had taken our education for granted at various times, pretending to be sick so we didn't even have to go to school. And I, in that moment, thought education should be a right, not a privilege, and I needed to do something about it. And I had no idea what that was going to be or how. It seemed too big. How could any one person do this? And then when that speaker said that, you just have to know your why, I realized I just need to start telling other people, and then the resources fall into place. And so I left that conference and I met up with the only 2 people that I knew that had started a nonprofit in British Columbia and asked them if they could tell me the steps. How do I do this? Show me how. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to fund education for girls so that we can keep them in school, so that we're stopping teenage marriages, because unfortunately school is not free in many countries around the world. And when it comes to, do I put food on the table or do I send my kids to school, it ends up being food on the table wins. And the girls in particular don't get to go to school. And when times get really tough, it's like, I'm just going to marry them off because they're old enough. They're 14. They can be someone else's problem. I don't have to feed them anymore.
Right.
And that's their reality. I'm not judging what happens. That's their reality. But what we can do is we can fundraise in order to pay for those girls to go to school so the parents never even have to make that difficult choice. And then we fundraise for menstrual supplies so that they can actually go to school every week of the month, because they don't have that there either. Something we take for granted here. Yeah, we might not like it. However, we have all the supplies we need, and getting our monthly cycle doesn't slow down our life in any way, shape, or form. For them, it does. They have to stay home for the entire time of their cycle every single month. And so this is what we've been doing since 2017. And we've now had 4 girls graduate from university. We've had a wonderful young lady who chose to go to vocational school because she had a different sponsor. And during COVID, that sponsor pulled out. So we were asked to support her, and it wasn't in our budget to support her all the way through university. So she said, if you can support me for 2 years, I'll go to vocational school. And we said, okay, we can do that. So she's become a seamstress and just graduated earlier this year. We've now loaned her money, so we're getting into microfinancing now to buy a sewing machine. And in talking to the community, they were asking if we could send clothes over because all the kids are wearing really torn, tattered clothing. And we looked into that. And yes, I could gather clothes easily. The cost of shipping it would be massive. And then we discovered it would never get to the girls. It would end up with the customs brokers would open these boxes of clothes from North America and go, ooh, cash pot, sell it, pocket the money, doesn't get to the girls. So what we decided to do was send over cash so that our seamstress could buy fabric and sew clothing for the girls in our community. And that's what's happening. And so it's really beautiful because now those girls are advertising for her sewing abilities. So other people be like, oh, beautiful dress. Where did you get it? And they will say where she got it. And so we're helping her support her business while giving these girls a new dress. And guess what? For all of them, it's their first new dress they've ever had in their life.
Right? Isn't that amazing that so many things that we just say, of course, I'm going to, like, I pretended to be sick. Sorry, Mom. She probably knows. I don't feel like going to school today. I'm cutting class. But
Exactly.
It's such a different point of view when you can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you saw that and you said, well, let's do something. Because lots of people see it and think, oh, I hope someone else takes care of that, So kudos to you. And I'm going to include a link there for people to also contribute to help with that.
Thank you. I appreciate that because every donation matters. And if there's anybody listening that would actually like to sponsor a girl's education for a year, they can reach out to me as well.
I know people who are going to want that. So
Yeah. So what we'll do is we have applicants and then we send the applications over so that they can choose the girl that they would like to sponsor rather than just putting money in, through our donation page on the website.
Yeah.
That tends to go to our smaller projects like the dresses, like the menstrual programs, etc. Sponsoring a girl, we work with the individual one-to-one to find a good match for them.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
so amazing. I mean, thank you for being in the world, Melissa.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate it. And, I can't do it alone. And so I'm so grateful for the board of directors that I have and the fundraising they do. We have a wonderful woman that I met who's born and raised in Nigeria and was able to come to the US for her. She's now a doctor, so for her 3 degrees. And she's now a mentor to our girls in Uganda and in Kenya to let them know that they can do this too, right? And it gives them hope. And so she's working with the girls, which is fabulous. And yeah, we work with some girls in the Kenyan slums. We've partnered with an organization called Jolly Sisters, who is training the mothers in how to earn an income through market stalls or sewing menstrual supplies or doing artwork that's then sold online. And then now we're supporting the daughters in keeping them in school there. And we want to expand. We want to expand to Nepal. There's other regions where we want to move into. And we also don't sit here in North America thinking we know what they need. We have staff and contacts on the ground that are letting us know what they need. And we never do anything without their guidance.
That's amazing. That is like super helpful because I know when I was in Africa, we were helping to build, and it was interesting to see, we were helping to build a school, and it was interesting to see that some of the people in the group that I was in was like, well, why don't we just go rent a backhoe? Because we were doing these wheelbarrows of gravel. I said, we're doing it their way because they know how it needs to be done here. We don't have to come in with the solutions. We were coming in here with manpower, so yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
Exactly.
Oof, wow.
I love that you did that. Did you do that with Me to We at all? Was it a Me to We trip?
No, I did it with G Adventures.
Okay.
Charity arm. Yeah.
My daughter, when she was in grade 11, went to Kenya and did a Me to We trip, and they built a school, or they didn't build the whole school because they were only there for a week, but they had to actually dig the foundation, and then the next group would have come in and done the cement work, etc. So
yeah, it's a lot of labor and it's hot, but it's worthwhile, right?
It is.
So I'm going to encourage everybody to just go and find you and check out all of the things that you're doing. The Girls Matter, the Toxic Slayer, the program. I'm super interested in hearing more about your program as well. So I'm going to ask you, what's the best place for them to find you? I'm going to put in the show notes, but give a shout out here.
Sure. My website is yourguidedhealthjourney.com. And my email address is simply melissa@yourguidedhealthjourney.com.
Amazing. And do you have a final word of wisdom for our peeps out in podcast land?
I simply want to let people know after listening to this podcast that wherever you're at right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. So if you learned something new today, then look into that. If it resonated with you, follow through with that. Take some action. Don't get stuck beating yourself up because you should have known it sooner. No, you were meant to learn it today because today you were ready to hear it. You've probably heard it before and it just went straight over the head, right? Today you're ready to hear it, so take action.
That is brilliant because it's so true. You can hear stuff many, many times. You won't hear it till you're ready to hear it.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I feel like we could have probably, recorded 3 or 4 podcasts and just kept going and going and going. But we're gonna stop there for the moment. Thank you so much. Friends in podcast land, share this with all the people that you love, because let's detox ourselves so that we can detox the world and send love and joy into the world. Support some girls, because it has been shown if you can support the girls, the village benefits exponentially, right? Supporting the
Absolutely.
women.
Absolutely.
And have a beautiful day. Take care, my friends. Thanks, Melissa.